The Chicago Bulls are facing some critical trade decisions as the 2025 NBA draft approaches. With the future of key players like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan up in the air, the Bulls front office is weighing their options. Will they stay committed to their current roster or shake things up to build for the future? The Bulls have the potential to make a big splash, but they need to decide whether to go all in for a playoff push or pivot toward a rebuilding strategy. With rumors swirling, all eyes are on Chicago as they prepare for one of the most important draft decisions in recent years. Stay tuned for the latest updates on their next move. The Chicago Bulls are facing one of their most crucial decision-making periods in recent history as they head into the 2025 NBA draft. This could be a turning point for a franchise that has seen its fair share of ups and downs over the past few seasons. With the team stuck in a middle ground, not quite a contender but also not in full rebuilding mode, their upcoming trade decisions will play a pivotal role in determining their future trajectory. This year, the Bulls have a lot of decisions to make, especially regarding how to approach their roster construction. The front office, led by Executive Vice President Arturas Karniovas and General Manager Mark Eversley, has made moves in the past few seasons that have kept the team competitive. They've added key players like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic, but those moves have yet to result in any serious playoff success or a clear path toward contending for a championship. As we look ahead to the 2025 draft and the trades that may shape the team's future, it's clear that the Bulls must take a long, hard look at their roster and ask some tough questions. What direction are they truly headed in? The first major trade decision will revolve around the future of DeMar DeRozan, the team's star forward. DeRozan has been the focal point of the Bulls' offense for the last few seasons, providing scoring, leadership, and a steady presence. However, his age is becoming a factor, as he is now in his mid-30s. While he is still an elite player, the Bulls have to consider whether it makes sense to keep him long-term. If they choose to trade him, it would likely signal a shift toward a more youthful, rebuilding approach, rather than continuing to build around DeRozan and the team's veterans. Another player whose future with the team is in question is Zach LaVine. LaVine has been a dynamic scoring option for the Bulls, but there have been questions about whether he is the right fit alongside DeRozan and Vucevic. The two players have often occupied similar spaces on the floor, which has at times led to offensive stagnation. Additionally, LaVine's defensive struggles have been a point of concern. While he is an explosive scorer, the Bulls need to ask themselves if they can build a championship-level team with LaVine as one of the cornerstones, or if it would be better to move him for a player who fits better alongside the team's existing pieces. Nikola Vucevic is also a player that could be on the trading block. The veteran center has been a reliable presence for the Bulls, but his fit on the team has often been questioned. Vucevic is a skilled offensive player, but he has been inconsistent at times, especially on defense. With the team's needs on both ends of the floor, the front office may look to trade Vucevic for a player who brings more balance to the roster, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. The Bulls have a solid foundation with players like Patrick Williams and Coby White, but there are still holes to fill if they want to be a true contender in the East. Beyond the current roster, the 2025 NBA draft presents an opportunity for the Bulls to shape their future. Chicago is projected to have a mid to late first-round pick, which could give them access to some intriguing prospects. However, this pick could also be a valuable trade asset if the Bulls decide that their best chance of improving the roster lies in acquiring a player who is ready to contribute immediately. A potential trade could bring in a more proven asset, one who can help them make a push for the playoffs next season. The question then becomes, should they prioritize a long-term vision and use the pick to draft a young player, or should they go all in on improving their chances in the short term? If the Bulls decide to go the trade route, there are a number of potential targets that could make sense for the team. One position that stands out as a need is point guard. While Coby White has shown flashes of promise, the Bulls still lack a true floor general who can control the game and make everyone around him better. If they could bring in a top-tier point guard through trade, it could elevate the entire offense and allow their other pieces to thrive. A veteran point guard with leadership experience could be exactly what this team needs to make a leap into true contender status. Another position of need is wing depth. The Bulls currently rely heavily on DeRozan and LaVine to provide scoring from the wing, but they don't have much depth behind them. A player who can contribute both defensively and offensively on the wing would be a huge boost for the team. If the front office could target a player who fits this mold, they could shore up a critical part of the roster and give themselves more options to compete in a loaded Eastern Conference. With the 2025 NBA draft just around the corner, the Bulls will also need to evaluate which young players on the roster have the potential to take the next step. Patrick Williams, in particular, is a player who has shown glimpses of greatness but has been inconsistent. The Bulls will have to decide whether they see Williams as a long-term piece or if he could be included in a trade package to acquire a more proven talent. If they feel that Williams is ready to take on a larger role, it could be a sign that the team is leaning toward a more gradual rebuild, with an eye on developing young talent over the next few seasons. Coby White is another player to keep an eye on. The point guard has shown improvement over the last couple of seasons, and he could be a valuable trade asset if the Bulls are looking to add a more experienced player. However, if the team decides to move forward with White as their starting point guard, it will be important for him to continue his development and take on more responsibility as the leader of the offense. The Bulls also have to consider their financial situation moving forward. The team is currently paying a hefty salary to players like DeRozan, LaVine, and Vu Evie, which limits their flexibility in making moves. If they want to acquire a top-tier player through trade, they may need to shed some salary or include multiple players in a deal. This could mean moving on from some of the team's current pieces, or even looking for a trade partner willing to take on a contract that no longer fits within the team's plans. While all these trade decisions and roster moves are important, the team's overall strategy will be determined by one key factor: whether they believe they can contend in the near future. The Eastern Conference is loaded with talented teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics, and Philadelphia 76ers, and the Bulls need to decide if they can realistically compete with these squads in the short term. If they believe they are close, they may opt to keep the core group together and make tweaks around the edges. However, if they feel that the window for competing is closing or that they need a more drastic overhaul, they may decide to make bold moves, including trading away some of their star players for future assets. The upcoming offseason will be one of the most critical in recent memory for the Chicago Bulls. The decisions they make regarding trades, the draft, and their roster construction will have a lasting impact on the franchise. Will they continue to try and build around their veterans, or will they pivot toward a rebuild with an eye on the future? The answers to these questions will shape the direction of the team for years to come, and the 2025 NBA Draft could be the first step in making those decisions a reality. As fans, all we can do is sit back and watch as the Bulls make these crucial decisions, knowing that the future of the